Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Dr. David Samadi. Today we have a very special guest, someone very different than the ones that we've interviewed before. We have a very well-known journalist, investigative journalist, I should say, comes from a very big family of reporters and journalists. We have Jessica Hasbun, who has a tremendous reputation in this field, and with a very interesting background, daughter of Fernando Hasbun, who's doesn't need any introduction, and both mom and dad are very much involved. And the more I learn about their independent news broadcast and the system, the more I like it. That's the way the news should be. So welcome to the show, Jessica. It's a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait to learn more about your background. I know you were born in America, in Miami,
yes,
and you left to come to Dominican Republic. So first, welcome.
Thank you. Thank
and
you for having me.
It's an open conversation. You can say anything
I love
you
open
want.
conversations. I'm usually the one that's asking the questions, so let's do it.
So tell me, like I know you started at a very early age, 6 years old. I heard that you started doing your first reporting. Is that true?
Yeah, so I grew up around my parents who've worked in the news business their entire lives. My dad was a cameraman. My mother was a reporter. She's still a reporter because she's an investigative journalist. So I grew up around all of this. I remember when she used to take me at NBC6 in Miami, they used to have take your kids to work day, take your daughter to work day.
Very interesting.
And I used to anchor with her that day, today in South Florida. And those are like my first memories of enjoying and seeing the impact they had at that time. And although I must confess, I didn't want to be a journalist. I wanted to be an attorney. But I said, man, I should do something that I could fall back on. And my plan B became my plan A. And it's been like that ever since.
Well, the seeds of journalism was put in at the time when
Yeah.
you were following, very similar to the way I was following my dad, running around in all these hospitals, putting all these medical equipment. So that plays a big role when we grow up
Yeah.
as a kid. So, here you are, and you're growing up in Miami. Why Dominican Republic? How do you make that transition as you grow older to come to this country?
Well, my dad came back. So my dad's Dominican, right? So my dad always said that he wanted to come back to the Dominican Republic and he wanted to do something to help transform this country. So he came back in like 1997, 1996. I must have been like maybe 6th or 7th grade. So my dad came first. He started working. He became the general director for CDN, which is another news organization here in the Dominican.
One of my favorite.
Yeah, careful there. So he came. He started transforming the way news was being given, right, fed to the audience. And for many, many years, he led CDN. And then one day he said, it's time, right? And they embarked on this journey 20 years later. Noticias CDN has been around for 20 years. And I came...
Wait, before I want to interrupt you for a minute, sorry. What was the issue with the way the traditional newscast, or the way it is today, and how is it different than what he's doing now?
So one of the biggest things that news should be, right, it should be close. It should be centered on what you need to know, what's happening in your community. And before, it was like us and them, We were just giving you the information that we wanted to give you, very traditional, and not close, right? So news should be close, right? I'm talking to you. I'm looking straight at you through the television. You want to connect with me. You want to confide in me. You want to believe in what I'm telling you. And I think at that point, it wasn't like that, right? It was the transformation that came with also doing live news, right? So everything was taped. And he brought in that whole news cycle of live shots. Let's be at the scene, very, very U.S., very Miami, very moving, right? And the U.S. news it moves all the time. It's 24/7. So when he started doing that, he said, I need to build my own. And that was his dream always.
There's a lot of, sometimes, I work to some extent on Fox News and many other stations. And even though I was in the medical parts, there was no pressure on me saying you got to talk about COVID more, or there was none of this stuff that was going on. But I'm not sure if with other anchors they dictate what really the news should be. Is that what your dad or you have felt over the years, that some of these institutions sort of like have a little sort of like called bias, or in America we call it like fake news, which is another popular. What do you think is going on behind the scene, and was that a motivation for your dad to make that crossover and build his own news agency?
Well, I think more than maybe having someone control what you say and how you say it and how you present the news, my parents were very clear when they came to this country. They were going to do independent journalism. They were going to do investigative journalism, whether it was at CDN, whether it was at SIN. And I think that's been a key to their success, right? They have never changed that center of what they do, right? So eso siempre ha sido el centro de absolutamente todo lo que ellos hacen. Ese compromiso con la verdad. And here comes my Spanglish, right? Because this is where I
like it. You sound fantastic. I like
this
it.
This is where
Keep
things
going.
get mushy,
That's
right?
Okay.
So my dad didn't have that pressure, right? He had the liberty to create, to do when he was at CDN, but it came to the point where you say, okay, I've come up to here. It's time to
move on to the next
move
level.
on and have my own thing. And I think that was something that my dad was very clear. He came here with that plan set in mind, and that's how Noticias SN came to be. And now I can tell you, and going back on the question about feeling pressure, the pressure is always going to be there. The pressure is always going to be there, right? Because what do we depend on? We depend on commercials. We depend on people paying ratings, right? The pressure is always going to be there. But I think the most important thing for Noticias SN has been that it doesn't matter the pressure. It doesn't matter the government that comes, that goes. It doesn't matter because we have our own standard. And I think that's been really the key to success for Noticias SN. We have always been an independent news organization. Nobody dictates what we do and how we do it.
And that goes on a broad scale. But as when we talk about like Jessica, you personally have taken the role of investigation journalist. So explain to me like these projects that come to the surface, how does that come about? Is it someone that calls you and say, like, listen, we need you to look into this? Because I read something about like a fake plastic surgeon. I've never heard of anything like this. Maybe they exist in
there's
America.
A ton here, doctor. There's a ton here.
What exactly does that mean?
Oh, man. So that's how I actually fell in love with everything that we were doing. So I wasn't planning on staying in the Dominican Republic, right? That wasn't a plan that I had. I had graduated the University of Florida. I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to go to law school post-graduation. I graduated in journalism, broadcast journalism. And when I came in the summer of May 2009, we started investigating this alleged doctor. And we received a ton of women that had suffered at the hands of this alleged doctor, un intruso.
A lot of complications.
Yes, and sick. Most of them, there was, I remember this one woman who ended up coming to live here because the medicine that she had to take was so expensive in the US that there was like a treaty between the pharmaceutical company and Dominican Rep. She had to end up moving here. She was from like Colorado or North Carolina, I don't remember. And I remember she even had to move here. We started with one complaint, one, and then two, and then three, four.
So they start coming to you.
Oof, and it was a ton. And I remember we did a series. We did, I think, 3 shows on this man. And the last show, it was so many women that we ended up sitting them all down. We had like 12 women.
And this is a doctor that was practicing medicine without a license?
Without a license. He was a plastic surgeon practicing without a specialty, right? His specialty. So I guess he had gone to med school. He didn't even have at that time an S4, which is your permit to actually practice medicine in the Dominican Republic. And I mean, horrific.
Doing a lot of major surgeries.
Doing a lot of major surgeries that left these women damaged for the rest of their lives.
It's incredible. I'm very sorry to hear that. So it started by just coming to visit here, and then this kind of like got your attention, and then you ended up staying here, right? You never went back to...
I never went back. So we started doing, I started working as an AP, as an associate producer on my mom's show, an investigative show. It was like the gopher. I was the gopher. Go for this, go for that, go for this. Carrying cables, helping the crew. And I remember when we sat down to interview the doctor, because we interviewed the doctor. He was so, he was so narcissistic that he thought that he could lie on camera and we wouldn't realize, you know? And it was such a good interview. His mic actually stayed on. He didn't even realize it. His mic stayed on. And at the end of the interview, my mom tells him, I want to see your office. I want to see your diplomas. I want to see where you operate. And I'll never forget this. We stopped taping, but, you know, the cameraman has the
Still
earpiece
can
on.
hear.
He can hear everything. So when the doctor gets up, he said a very Dominican expression in Spanish, which I probably get beeped for this. So beep, beep, he said. And he said something like along the lines of, they got me. They got me.
Oh
So
my
he
God.
knew what he was doing. And I said, my God, all these women, all this that's been happening. And that was really, at that moment, I knew and I recognized the impact that we could have in helping people that couldn't find a way to get help. So they had gone to the Justice Department, they had put denuncias, and nothing happened up until that point. And that repeats itself with other cases that we received.
That was the beginning of your kind of like
Yes.
journalism. And then where did you end up going from there? Tell us about some of the other exciting cases that you've had
I
so
remember
far.
when we had access to WikiLeaks and we actually got to talk to Julian Assange. We did.
What do you think about him?
What do I think about Julian Assange?
I mean, his life has been kind
Yeah.
of ruined, right?
I mean,
He's been in hiding.
he's definitely controversial. I think he's a whistleblower. I think that, I mean, when we got access to all those documents, we uncovered a lot of stuff.
And he was open to just give it to you guys.
Well, no, I mean, it was a process.
Right.
It was a big process. To talk to him, to be able to speak with him, was a big process.
What do you like about all of this? Is this the rush, or is this like sort of like a, you know, I'm going to be the voice of the victims? Or what is this?
I think it's a combination
You
of
know what?
everything. I think it's a combination of everything. As a doctor, you serve, and you're here for your patients.
Of course.
And as journalists, we're here for the
You
people.
want to tell the truth.
Yeah, and you're here for the people, and you're here to be the voice to those people that don't have. You're here to fight corruption. You're here to do the right thing, right? So it's a combination of all those things. So when we have breaking news, when we have hurricanes, when we have major catastrophes, we're there. We're the face. We're here to tell you what's going on. You trust us.
Are you also doing a lot of on-site reporting? Are you
Yes,
also
I
like-
do. Oh boy, do I.
How is that going for you?
Oof. I've had days, 16-hour days, 17-hour days. I mean,
Are you enjoying it?
I do. I enjoy it until you don't. Until you say, my goodness, I'm really tired and the words are coming out mushy. But yes, you feel such a sense of compromiso, commitment to what you do, that even though you're tired, even though you haven't eaten, even though you haven't slept, you're still there. So this is really a service that we do, right? Es un compromiso, un servicio que hacemos.
Is that putting a big pressure on your social life, on your family life, on...
You should ask my two daughters, yes. Do you work tonight, Mom? Do you have
How old
to
are
go?
they?
So Isabella's 8 and Gabriela's 7. They're 17 months apart.
Beautiful. That's a great
Yes.
age. Are you also like pushing them to go in this field? I'm sure you
No,
are.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Look at me.
You
Absolutely
don't want them
not.
to do
No,
this?
I want
I
them
can't
to be
believe
like
you.
interior designers or maybe like an architect.
Normal jobs.
Yes. Painters, maybe be a writer. No. This is too much. This is
But
too
you
much.
do recommend this to a lot of young girls who are going to
No, joking aside, this is I mean, I don't imagine myself doing anything else. I told you earlier that I wanted to be a lawyer. I probably would have been a really bad lawyer.
I'm not sure. I think you would have been
Yeah,
a
you
very,
think
very
so,
tough
doctor?
one, and you would have been a very successful one. And I
Oh,
think,
thank
like, it
you.
would have been very scary to be on the other side. So you would have been a great lawyer. Don't underestimate
Thank you,
yourself.
doctor. No, I think I'm where I have to be, doing what I have to do. I love what I do. I absolutely love it.
What are some of the projects you're working on now, if you can talk about
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
or not?
absolutely. So journalism for me is my job. It's my livelihood. It's my passion. But I also found a new passion, film. I started doing documentaries with my husband. We did our first feature film that will air in theaters in 2026.
Exciting. All over Dominican Republic, or
All
also
over
in
the
US
Dominican
also?
Republic and distribution.
Would love to watch it.
Yes,
Can
yes.
you say something about that?
Yes,
or?
so the story is based on our Olympic runner, Marilady Paulino, the first woman to win a golden medal
Absolutely.
in the Dominican Republic. She's the athlete that's, they say in Spanish, que es irrepetible. There probably won't be anybody like her for many, many years.
It was one of the most exciting moments.
Yes.
And we all watched it on national
Yes,
TV. It
yes.
was incredible. So
Yes.
so that must be a very exciting
Yes,
documentary.
it's going to be a beautiful film. We're already in post-production. We're hoping to air in theaters in 2026. I have a documentary coming out on the 16th of January, Orgullo de Quisqueya, which is about Dominicans all over the world that have had some type of success, done something valuable, and we travel the world. In this edition, which is the second one that we're airing.
Let me ask you something. Outside Dominican Republic, where do you see the strongest hold that Dominicans have? I mean, I always think like Washington Heights, but you must have traveled all over U.S. Where do you think like really Dominicans are, making the biggest impact in the country?
No, Dominicans, I mean, we're talking about 2.1 million Dominicans live outside the Dominican Republic. But it's so interesting to see the Dominicans in New York, the Dominicans in Boston, the difference between the Dominicans in Spain, in Italy, even in Iceland.
Completely different
Canada,
culture, different
yes.
attitude.
Yes, absolutely. And I think most Dominicans go with a suitcase filled with dreams to better their lives, to study. Think it's so extraordinary to see how in so many different areas, archaeologists, we have a Dominican archaeologist. The first Latin American archaeologist is Dominican.
Where is this?
She's in Egypt. She's been excavating for the last 20 years looking for Cleopatra. I had the opportunity to be with her. I did a documentary on her. I was with her for a week in Egypt, and it's extraordinary what she's doing. Then you go to Canada and you have this young Dominican who was born in extreme poverty, and now he does movies like Toy Story. He did Godzilla. He's one of the biggest animators in film.
And you know what I think? I think that part of the reason is because their expectations are low. And they roll up the sleeve. I've seen, because my first job was at Columbia Presbyterian, and almost like I would say as a young doctor, 80%, 70% of the patients were Dominicans. And what I learned very early on in my career is that you take care of one Dominican, you have the entire town.
You won the entire community.
They're extremely loyal, they're very respectful, and they like to talk. Because if you take care of one of them, they will talk to the entire village.
Yes.
And next thing you know, you have...
Washington Heights,
yes,
the Bronx,
exactly.
Queens. So you know Dr. Rafael Antigua.
Yes, of course.
I did a documentary on him.
So maybe one day you do
Yes.
a documentary on me.
He's extraordinary.
That's great. That's fantastic. I can't wait to watch all of this.
Yes, and I'm going to share all the links.
This is all part of your dad's news broadcast, or this is all like a little separate?
Yes, so this is like what they call in the U.S. the side hustle. This is my side hustle. Actually, this has become really like an escape for me, right? So in news, we don't give good news, right? So if we're going to give good news, it's at the end of the newscast. Maybe we give it 15, 30 seconds.
Right.
So I've dedicated these last 5 years of my life to doing film that's representative of values, of hardworking people, and doing those stories that really connect and have that really human aspect that you can roll up your sleeves and you can do something. Where you come from doesn't define what's going to happen to you for the rest of your life.
That's exciting. And of course, like there's a lot of digital news that's going on, which is like new with your company. Where do you see your career moving forward?
Well, my career moving forward, I mean, well, my dad he wants to retire.
How old is he now?
My dad this is 2000, we're in 2025?
Yes.
So my dad he's going to kill me. Well, no, we're not going to say how old he is.
You don't need to say it,
yeah,
but he's been doing this for over 40 years.
He's been doing this forever. I think they're starting to prepare to pass the baton. I think we've been preparing for a long time. I've been here for 16 years.
Don't let him retire completely.
My dad will never retire completely.
Make sure he comes to work at least, and he's exposed to all the producers for at least twice a week to get the brain activity going.
Oh, no. And I don't think he'll ever retire. I think he's going to be that person that's always connected. He lives this. This is what we do.
How is the news field changing the way people like start putting the camera on, start talking? I have a lot of friends in the news field because again I was on Fox News, whether you like it or not. I was the medical contributor for over 10-11 years.
Wow.
So when the news broke out about Joe Biden and prostate cancer, I got a call immediately from like Megyn Kelly, all the guys that Tucker Carlson and many others, etc., the ambassador to Israel and etc. I know them on a phone basis. And they are the ones that kind of like leaving the traditional news broadcast and saying like, I don't want to be part of that whole system and I'm going to do it my way. Is that the trend? Do you see a danger to the traditional and things that you guys do, or it's not going to be?
No,
there's room for everyone on the table? No,
I think there's a very fine line with responsible journalism and trying to be sensationalist, right? I think there's a very fine line, and I think if you're a respectable journalist, you're going to stick to the right side, right? You're going to stick to the right side of history. Not right. I'm not trying to be political. I said right or left, but
no, I understand.
Trying to stick to what we're supposed to do, right? So what we're supposed to do. And I think we can have our opinions. I have my opinions. I'm very passionate about my opinions, but I keep my opinions to myself. I'm not public about my opinions because as a public servant, I feel like I can't influence you to coming on board to what I think. I'm going to give you the facts and you decide what you believe, right? And I think there's a very fine line. And I think right now we're living in a society where anybody grabs a microphone, anybody grabs a cell phone, anybody grabs a camera and says, I'm fulano de tal and I'm here to report on whatever. I mean, I think, and people have to be smarter. People have to do their research and you have to know and pick and choose. I think the real journalists are here to show you what's right, to show you what the truth is, and be on the right side of history, I guess. I mean, right now there's just so much noise. I mean, anybody can grab anything, put it on X,
Correct.
Put it on Instagram.
That's correct.
It'll go viral, and half of the stuff is probably not even true.
Well, I think the job that you do is even more complicated than any reporter. Most of the reporters, they basically get the facts and they just have to put it out there and present it in a way that is kind of friendly to the audience and they can like understand it. But your job is really a lot more complicated than most reporters. You have to be honest, you have to be straightforward, you have to do the right thing, and you really have to go through the gray zone and get the truth. And for that, I commend you. And continue to do a great job. And the whole story of your parents and your father and how you grew up in that environment is really fascinating. So I hope that in a few years from now we would talk about you again
I hope
in a much
so,
bigger
yes.
way, and some of your documentaries. And I would love to see some of your pieces, and I would love one day to do a documentary about my life, because
Yes.
I was born in Middle East also.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a young kid. I was 15 years old when I left. And I have my own story that one day I
No,
will
we
share
gotta,
with you.
we got to sit down.
Yes, and it's a story about two kids that grew up on their own and became a success story. So one day we would work on that. But I wanted to thank you, and I just want you to say 30 seconds in English or Spanish to some of the young youth, the girls who are basically watching you, seeing that 60-year-old in Miami that now became like a big reporter. What's the message that you have for them, and what do you want to tell them?
That's always a good question and a good way to close. I think one of my favorite phrases, and I'm going to have to say it in Spanish, is hacer es la mejor manera de decir. So the best way to say is by doing. So I think that's become my lema de vida. That's become my mantra, right? So do and live by that. And I think one of the biggest things for those young girls, especially here in the country, that think that going viral is the coolest thing and the most important, study, work hard, study, learn everything that you can, prepare for the future, because it's all on you. Instagram, TikTok, all of that comes and goes. It's like a little wave. You're on today, off tomorrow. And what you have here is what's going to get you to where you need to be.
That's a great lesson. You know, education. Teach yourself to be a long-term reporter and hard work and perseverance. Jessica, thank you very much for being with us. Please send my regards to your parents.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to one day come and do some interviews with your whole news team. It's a pleasure to have Jessica with us, and a great honor. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.